Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs and me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. Today's focus is on the Pacos De Ferreira game and the build-up to the Wolves game. Might as well do both in one, because the Pacos De Ferreira game is a bit of a strange one for a few reasons. So, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like and comment. Really important to the growth of the channel. So let's just jump right into it. So the formation we played against Pacos de Ferreira, the Portuguese team, away for our first leg of the European or Europa Conference League, we went with a 3-4-2-1, which is different to the 4-3-3 that we've seen us playing so far, which one would have caused some confusion. So the lineup, we had Galini in goal, a back three of Cameron Carter-Vickers, Christian Romero for his proper debut, and Ben Davies. And then Doherty and Sessegnon operate in the fullback positions with Winks, Lo Celso and Niles John Gill operating in the midfield positions, and Scala up top. So a lot of you would have been thinking, why isn't Rodon playing? He certainly could have come in for that game. That's just because Joe Rodon has got a thigh injury, so that's why he was missing from that. Substitutes bench. It doesn't get much better there. Austin, White, Clark, Pascozzi, Cisse, the Craig brothers, Leons Foster, Mundle and Bennett. So I think that was 16 first team players left out. The whole starting 11 is completely different to that of the victory against Manchester City. It's way too many changes. Nuno basically said before the game there was going to be changes. None of the 11 were going to start. But, it's just pretty poor. There's other players that could have been in there. And I knew from the start we were going to be in for a tough night against Pacos de Ferreira, who they're not as bad as people will say. You may not have heard of them because people don't follow the Portuguese league that well. So you might only really know the main three out there. But certainly, they finished fifth last season. They're not a bad outfit. We'll just talk about the performances of the players. So Galini, fairly comfortable first half, saves and stuff like that. Couldn't stop De Silva's shot. It was a one-on-one, which makes it very difficult. Second half, he didn't really have much else to do, to be honest. Carter-Vickers, I'm actually really disappointed because he looked fairly solid in pre-season, barring his pace, obviously, but that's always going to be a problem for him. Yeah, he looked fairly solid, and in this game he just looked nervy, and it's strange because he's racked up some decent minutes in pre-season, but it just goes to show now that he's obviously more comfortable against the weaker opposition that he might come across week in, week out in somewhere like the Championship. However, I would say Pacos de Ferreira, although they're a decent team, I wouldn't say they're necessarily Premier League level. I'd say they are more Championship level. So maybe it was just the nerves of knowing it's not a pre-season game and it kind of matters to some extent. But normally he's fantastic in the air and he even looked nervy in the air. So strange run from him. He was partnered with Romero and Davies. So Romero obviously got the injury in the Copa America. Played very well in that competition. Came on for like a couple of minutes against Manchester City. Probably just to get a vibe of being in a Tottenham shirt, the fans behind him. That's more what that was about. But this game, I wouldn't read too much into it. It's kind of another development in his fitness, getting him back. He hasn't had a lot of proper training with the team. He'd done a lot of individual work, has been integrated into the team for training, isn't quite ready, and that was evident in this game. Although he was good on the ball, happy to carry it out, but he did get caught out of position at times, which was the case for their goal. So that left space in behind, and that was him and Carter-Vickers. Really, the communication between the two wasn't great, but what do we expect? Romero's English, not great. Carter-Vickers, not a natural leader or a main man in Tottenham. He's normally out on loan. Ben Davies, he started at centre-back, then was moved to left-back in the second half after a while, but then he was moved back to centre-back. However, he was the best of the back three, looked the most comfortable. He did pick up a harsh yellow card. But as I've said in the past, I actually think Ben Davies' best position is in a back three. He operates well on the left side of a centre-back three. It proved it again today. It proved it again the other day. But certainly not the best combination of centre-backs to be putting him in. Let's talk about Doherty. So frustrating. You'd think with Nuno coming in that it would spark some life into him. But let's not forget, Nuno was the man in charge when they allowed Doherty to leave to come to us. So there must be a reason behind that other than just the money that we offered. And I think that performance was pretty evident. You'd expect him to be one of the men to drive us forward and really spur us on. Didn't happen. He's passing pretty poor, crossing poor. Didn't really make an impact on the game, in my opinion. Who else? Sessegnon on the other side. He made that big tackle early on. I think it was 16 minutes in our box. That would have been a great chance for Pacos De Ferreira to score. Apart from that, not much else from him. No impact in the first half. He was put in a more advanced role in the second half, but again, still not much of an impact. He was subbed off. Winksy in midfield. Now, this is the guy you'd really think would take some responsibility for us, seeing as he's the most experienced, bar Davies, the most experienced Spurs player that we had out on the pitch. Didn't happen. His tackling wasn't great. We know he loves a sideways pass, sideways Winksy. He couldn't control the midfield whatsoever. I'm not going to completely diminish all the squad here because it's a squad that would rarely ever play together. So this is a very, very mismatched squad. But yeah, not great from Winksy. Lo Celso struggled to create. And it's strange because he had a really good Copa America and you think he was going to come back and that was going to help push him on. And again, I think this could be down to the players that he's got around him. It was a different system to what they've been playing. He struggled to create. His passing was very mixed, but that's usual. Set pieces pretty mixed as well. When he did try and get forward, he left space in behind him, which didn't help us whatsoever. It helped Pacos De Ferreira in their transitions. Niles John, he's played a lot of pre-season. He worked very hard. But again, like Carter Vickers, he looked nervy. Didn't have too much of an impact. He was subbed at half-time for Jack Clark. Brian Hill, confident on the ball. Looked goodish in the first half, ghosting past players and things. He did look the most likely to create something of all the players on the pitch. However, his ability to hold the shape for the squad was pretty poor, to the point where players were getting a bit annoyed at him. I think maybe it was the fact that he was excited out there, happy to be on the ball, wanted to prove himself to the manager. Tactical awareness just went a bit out the window, to the point where Winksy was actually shouting at him, trying to get him back into position, because that in turn makes Winksy's job harder and it leaves the midfield exposed. So, there's another one of the reasons why perhaps Winksy couldn't have the game that he would have wanted. And then Dane Scarlett up top. It's a bit of a hard one for him because, let's face it, he got no help at all from the players around him. He's still young, very talented player, probably not strong enough to be up there and do stuff on his own like Harry Kane can at times. Just not offered any real service whatsoever. He was just left to chase loose balls, so it's really harsh to comment on his performance, to be honest. Then the subs that did come on, Clark, he started off on the left, then was moved across to the right. No impact again. Clark's a bit of a strange one. As I said, I don't really think he fits into Spurs and the way we play, so just get rid of him. Take a hit on the cash, we're going to have to. Then Bennett came on with 10 minutes to go, tried to make things happen, but by that time, the squad were in a pretty bad mentality, I suppose, because we hadn't really done anything during the game, so that came to no avail. And then Pascozzi, he literally only come on to replace Cameron Carter-Vickers because he picked up an injury. However, at one point it looked like Romero got himself injured again, which was a bit of a worry, so we thought he was the one coming off. But Carter-Vickers actually was the one that went off injured. What Nuno said about the game, he admitted not a good performance at all. He was saying that we gave the ball away too much when we were passing, which actually led to their goal. What else? He agreed that the squad was imbalanced, and he admitted that so many changes within the squad contributed to the outcome of the game. But he did say that was always the plan anyway, to change the squad up and give players minutes. Although looking at the squad that he actually went with, you can't really agree with him in the sense that was a good enough team to go out and win the game. What else? Said that losing always impacts the mentality in the camp. Whether it's against a team like this in the Europa Conference League, whether it's in the Premier League, no matter the team we put out, it will affect things in camp. Was asked about Kane, said that he had trained with the players and that he trained well. Hill, he said, started well, but needs to find the right position. Nuno needs to find the right position for him and give him exact tasks. And that one annoyed me a little bit because they've brought in a player that they really wanted, but they don't actually know what position he's meant to be playing at Spurs. Because he actually played in, 2 to 3 different positions in that game. He was moved about a little bit. Nuno admitted that's not the right way to get the best out of a new player. However, I think they were just testing things out. But it might be that they know where they want to play him, but they've brought him in and realised in training, where does he fit with this squad in the formations we want to play? No doubt, unreal talent. And he is young, but it's a bit worrying that they're saying they need to give him exact tasks. As a footballer, you should really know what your role is the second you go out there, because they have these meetings about formations and roles. So do they really need to give him exact tasks? I think maybe his tactical side needs a lot of work. My thoughts on the game. We just needed some more first team players at the end of the day. I know Aurier is somebody they're looking to sell. However, everything has gone so quiet. We've heard nothing about any interest in the transfer window. We only heard about things before the end of the season about teams that were interested. Apart from that, nothing. So by that logic, if it looks like we're not going to get rid of him, there's no way Daniel Levy's just going to let him go on a free. Play him. He's better than Doherty, in my opinion, for this squad. He's inconsistent at times, I know that, but he has played a lot better than Doherty has over the last couple of seasons. So I'm sorry, you've got to use him. He's an experienced player. I know this was the first leg and you want to get other players minutes, but at what cost? It's not worth going out of this competition in this fashion. Obviously, he's going to play a better squad when we take it back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but, use him. Sissoko, he was left to train. He's another player that possibly could be going out the door. However, could have made a difference, could have helped Winksy. Obviously, Winks is used to playing next to Sissoko. That would have made Winks more comfortable. There would have been more of a shape, would have helped us break things down when Pacos did break forward. Because, Pacos didn't exactly create loads and loads, but Sissoko would have shored things up, would have helped protect us on the right side. He tends to protect Aurier quite well when Aurier has his wandering up the pitch moments. N'dombele as well. Now, this is a bit of a weird one. He's obviously not been involved in any of the pre-season squads, but he can be seen in training, in photos, in the video footage. He's obviously just become a dad. We'll talk about him in a minute, but definitely should have taken him. Pacos De Ferreira, look, they're a better team than a lot of us know about. As I said, for those of you that aren't really familiar with the Portuguese league, will just assume Pacos De Ferreira who? But they finished 5th last season. Okay, they're organised and they're aggressive. They didn't actually create too much on the night, but we didn't really create anything at all. I think it was just the pattern of the game. It was almost like watching a pre-season friendly, and that's probably the mentality a lot of these players for us were certainly in. They did have more of their starting players out. The other thing that I felt really hurts was the change of formation as well. So, they've been playing a 4-3-3. It was then changed to a 3-4-2-1. Then adding the fact that you've got our want-away players. You've got players there that we don't want. Winks is somebody that's sort of playing for his future. You've got players in there that are coming back from injury. Players that have been away. So, for instance, Galini, absolutely fine. Carter Vickers, fringe player that's currently looking for a move, either a permanent or Tottenham will do another one of their extend his contract by a year, send him out on loan, because after all, he's still young. So Carter Vickers has got one eye on the exit door. Romero, just come back from injury, not had a lot of playing time. Ben Davies didn't have loads of pre-season, so, and he hasn't played as a centre-back for us in a while. Definitely hasn't played with Carter Vickers and Romero in a while. Doherty, hadn't seen much of him in pre-season. Winks playing for his future, but surrounded by players that haven't played together a lot, so that didn't help him. Lo Celso just won the Copa America, again has had a very short holiday and come back, so he's still working his way back. Sessegnon out on loan last season, so hasn't played with a lot of these players. Bryan Gil has had basically no time whatsoever. He obviously finished the season in La Liga, then got his transfer, then he went off to the Olympics, and then is straight back in. So he's probably only had about a week's holiday. So his body's still probably tired, which showed in the second half. Niall John, youngster, had a decent amount of time in pre-season, but again, going to be nervous in these kind of games. Who else? Dane Scarlett, another youngster, not used to playing with a lot of these players, would probably suit two up top better. Clark, when he come on, he's not really hit the ground running at Spurs. Bennett, he only had 10 minutes, but again, youngster. Pascozzi had barely any time, but again, it's a youngster. Then you look at the bench, it is just full of youngsters. Absolutely full of them. There is no first team players on that bench at all. I mean, Austin isn't even like third choice goalkeeper normally. The only reason he's there is because Alfie Whiteman's gone out on loan. So I'm sure if that was the case, Austin wouldn't have been in the squad, Alfie Whiteman would have been, and Gleaney still would have started. So look, these are the reasons. There's lots there. So although it's disappointing, I mean, the way we played was disappointing, but at the same time, I can kind of understand why we did. It's a very disjointed squad. He's asking them to play a different formation. They've gone three at the back for the first time. There's communication differences in there. They haven't had a lot of time to work on this formation together anyway, and this isn't a team we're ever going to see as a full squad ever again. I think, though, Nuno would have expected us to not necessarily win the game, but at least come away not losing the game, which would have made it easier at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But because of that, this is probably going to force his hand, and he'll have to play a few more first team players than he would have liked to in this game next Thursday. So we'll see what happens there. But now, after that, let's just move on to a little bit about the Wolves game. So we play away at Wolves tomorrow at the Molineux. That's a 2 p.m. kickoff. It's not on TV, unfortunately. Southampton, Manchester United has got the slot for the 2 o'clock games. Team news, Harry Kane, the decision will be made today in training as to whether he's going to play. If he doesn't play, probably expect him to be going out the door. Joe Rodon, obviously mentioned earlier, he again won't be playing because of his thigh injury. N'dombele, Nuno's come out and said that he won't be in the squad. He wouldn't state as to why he's not going to be in the squad. All he's basically said is it's down to Tanguy to come out and say it. It's not fair to go and say stuff. Look, the rumours are, though, he's asked to leave Spurs. Contribution to that will be the fact that Aurier and Sissoko are looking to get moves, so that's his little contingency and best mates going. However, the confusing thing for me is that if you look at the training footage and photos that are out of Tanguy, he looks very comfortable with the rest of the players. He seems to be laughing and joking with people. He seems to have a good relationship with Sonny. So I really don't understand. And the guy is a fantastic talent. If somebody can just get his head screwed on, get his mentality right, keep his fitness up, he could be one of the best midfielders in the world. The guy is insane on the ball. Absolutely insane. It's definitely a mentality thing within himself. But I'm not going to criticise him too much because we don't know his past. Don't know anything about his past, his childhood, growing up. So, there could be underlying issues there as to why his attitude is the way it is. But however, I just want to see him do well in a Spurs shirt. Mourinho finally got him playing well, and that was only, 50% of his potential? Could you imagine the player we'd have in our hands if we just had that one manager that could click everything into gear? The guy would be unreal. So, whichever team gets him, if that happens and they have the right manager, you could see one of the best midfielders of a generation. He's got so much talent. It's like Moussa Dembele mixed with bits of Ronaldinho with some creativity of Lionel Messi. I'm not saying he's better than all them combined, but he's got elements of those players. Team news for Wolves. Raul Jimenez obviously made his comeback for Wolves, which is great to see after an injury like that. They lost 1-0 to Leicester, but you would expect Jimenez to start again, so that'll be his first home game since his injury. I'm sure the fans of both sets of teams will be behind him to welcome him back. Actual injuries for them, Mascara and Bolly, they're two defenders, they've got hamstring injuries. Neto and Johnny are both out with knee injuries, and then Podence is out with a groin injury. A little bit about us and them. Obviously, first games of the season, we beat Man City at home. They played away to Leicester, so you'd have expected them to lose. And when you look at head-to-heads, at the Molineux, they have only beat us once out of the last 7. So looks good for us. Hopefully Nuno will get the right balance of squad out. Fingers crossed we see Harry Kane. If not, get rid. Do you know what I mean? I'm sick of it now. I'm genuinely, like, I love Harry Kane to bits as a player, but I'm sick of this situation. All the Spurs players will tell you that it's not affecting them mentally. It probably isn't. Like, they know these things are going to happen. Some of them may have had conversations with Harry about this, but at the end of the day, as fans, I think we just want it done. We'd rather know one way or the other. Like, if he's going to go, it gives us time to get over it. If he's going to stay, happy days. So, I'm expecting a win. I genuinely think we will. I think with Nuno going back there, I think the Wolves fans are actually going to be behind Nuno and give him a good reception. But I just think we're going to be too much for them. Even if Kane doesn't play, I think our wide players and Sonny have got enough about them to really hit Wolves on the break. And obviously, Nuno has that defensive nous to really get us solid at the back there, depending on what he goes with. I'm assuming he'll go to a back four again. I don't think he'll stick with the three at the back. But if he does, you'd expect maybe to see a combination of Dyer, Sanchez and Romero, or Dyer, Sanchez and Davies, depending on whether Romero's fit enough to start a Premier League game yet. We shall see. But there you go. That's it for today. Managed to squeeze 2 videos worth into one. Have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy the game. Fingers crossed we get the win. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for sticking around. And as always, guys, come on you Spurs.